the things that kind of, when Bill brought that up, made me realize about the public comments. We did have a lot of public comments favoring the 70-foot easement to have an extension on Dinehard. And a lot of them, most of them, maybe all of them, were in favor of it because they see that as easing traffic issues later if a development is approved there. I'm not sure that has any relevance to what the school district is proposing. There's not, I mean, they're favoring a potential future development, what that might look like. I mean, there was, you know, when this development sort of came up and was swirling around, there was issues of like, oh, well, Woodlands Drive is the only access there. That's going to be a traffic nightmare. I agree. That's probably not, you know, and for safety, emergency vehicle access, that's probably not something we would ever approve, you know, 500 to 1,200 homes with, in addition to the Woodlands, with having one access point, egress and access point. But, you know, so I think a lot of those comments are in favor of this because they see the future development as potentially having another way to get out rather than Woodlands. And I'm not sure that, you know, how that's necessarily connected or in favor of what the, or, you know, school district is trying to do. I don't know if I'm explaining that right, but it's sort of that significance or that nexus to, you know, the school district is, nothing they're doing is really impacting the public roads. I mean, they're just trying to do their, you know, internal flow, traffic flow, which they had a traffic study on that. Just as a user of the campus, I'm only using one this year. Last year I was using two. Kind of looks like it makes sense to me, like it may alleviate some of the issues, but it's not creating any issues on at that intersection. I mean, if anything, it'll move traffic flow a little further if it ever does back up. Like I said, I've never experienced it, but you know, people that it backs up to that intersection, but maybe people have. So I just, yeah, I'm kind of having.
So let me ask that question then, because that's our job of White Peters, that they help us on these things. So I'm assuming when I get a packet this thick and it has a very specific conditional use permit with 11 items, that some attorney from your firm has looked at that and that your thoughts are there's no red flags. And if I'm wrong on that, please tell us. If you see red flags in any of these conditional use, you know, the 11 items, we'd certainly, as a council, like to know that.
So, Mr. Mayor, members of the council, so we can't presume to know what the issues are going to be brought out during. And the second thing is we also are not going to presume what your deliberations are going to be or what your decision is going to be. And so you will note that there are no findings in the packet. And so you can direct what you think your decision is going to be, and then we bring back to you proposed findings and a decision in order for you to review. So again, the Planning and Zoning Commission only makes a recommendation. So it's my way of saying to you, there are things may be well vetted, but it doesn't mean that they're final. And so it's my job to raise things like the nexus and proportionality issue in the meeting so that you just don't walk into something without recognizing that that's a potential issue. We recognized that in the firm that was going to be an issue, and that's why it was brought up. But it was not going to go away, and it wasn't going to go away at the Planning and Zoning Commission issue, because it was something that staff recognized was important because of things like Mr. Grove's development to the east. and it had to be discussed and it had to be put on the table.
Yeah, so I'll just cut to the chase. I think the staff's done a great job. And my individual deliberation would be to approve everything as it's written today. But if your conclusion as my lawyer for this city is that that's really dangerous, I need to know that before we vote on any motions tonight.
Well, appreciate that, Mr. Mayor, members of the council. The issue of risk is one that we can address separately. But again, we're not, and we can advise you with regard to risk. It's the council's province whether to accept risk or not.
Okay. So we've heard from Mike. Lyle, did you weigh in yet? Julie's waiting on some legal stuff. What's your thoughts about?
I have enough unknowns that's pretty difficult for me to be firm. And part of me is things vetted through P and Z always carries a lot of weight. The staff is phenomenal. What they recommend carries a lot of weight. However, I think about what's probable. So to me, the nexus is that we need access to development to the east. And that's in the cities. And we've put that out there. And I know people would think different, but if we didn't have a development potential, we wouldn't be asking for an easement, I don't think. I don't think the school is the driver of the easement. And so I'm just let's go back to Brian said it's too vague to put the conditions of the easement upon knowing what is going to be acceptable on the site. And we have a new housing action plan, and the housing action plan has some criteria that I think the developer thinks they can meet. But we have to have 40% full-time residency. That's the goal, and the goal is affordability. And to me, I kind of like to see how some of those things come together, because the school can benefit from some of that. When we vet this out, if they work together. And so that's my conundrum in decision-making is I don't think we've reached the optimal possibilities between the three stakeholders. And we can have faith that when we vet this out, we'll come to that, but the school is stuck. They can't really move forward until we prove the conditions either as is, or they got to make a fair amount of change if we were to ask for the conditions, if we don't ask for the conditions to be approved. So I'm kind of stuck. I'd be willing to make a decision tonight, but at this moment, I'm not sure which way I'd go.
Okay.
Meaning that to buy the time to see what is more of a win-win with the developer and the school and the city.
Colby?
Who developed Fox Ridge? I remember.
I know them.
I don't remember.
John Hopkins and Julie,
It rings a bell.
represented by the lawyer who determined there wasn't an easement on the property.
Julie Fields.
Julie Fields.
Yeah, it's unfortunate to be in the situation of trying to claw back something that the city had and still presumably has, but has been eroded. I am in the opinion of the city shouldn't be giving up any of the right of ways, much like the alleyways. I think it's important to maintain that. you know, as far as the other conditions they're objecting to, I mean, 8 foot, 10 foot, whatever. Um, much to Brian's chagrin, if it makes him happy, bike parking, but see the point, and the landscaping is excessive in my mind. So those three conditions, if we have, if we can maintain an easement, go ahead and make some concessions on the easy ones, because those are, I don't know, pretty minor, but I personally would not bend on the easement issue. That's where I draw the line on this decision. I think we have to keep that, and we have to fight for it. We have to ensure that exists.
I think my issue is there really is only a 35-foot easement that the school district agreed to a long time ago. I mean, regardless of whether they tried to work with the developer to extinguish the other 35, or, you know, that's history, that's in the past, that we've seen things like crazy things like that with other projects that, you know, things gone bad and you just gotta move forward. But here we're talking about saying like, hey, we want another 35 feet, you know, from your property. I mean, if it was originally 70 and they had the 70, I'd have a lot less, maybe less issue with it. I'd still have the issue about the proportionality issue that Bill brought up, but, you know.
Well, I didn't hear, I think you're interpreting it a little differently than I'm hearing. So, well, I'll have to ask the question again, but
There was 70 feet originally in 1973,
right.
But 35 was supposed to come from Fox Ridge and 35 was supposed to come from the.
not in 1973. Fox Ridge was never even a pipe dream. I don't know that Julie Fields was even born.
Yeah, but
So that was the 70 feet was there
But then
way
you
back
have-
when.
But then you have all that past history of the conditions of approval where, you know, the city's saying, I mean, that they're not.
Well, yeah, I follow you
Yeah,
on
that-
that. I'm just saying that originally it wasn't 35 feet per the documentation that we have in the file. Originally it was 70. And then it became this 35, and then it became all the other, everything not done properly through the course of it and then back. So it's, all I'm saying is that according to this, is that it was originally 70 feet.
That's what I'm saying too.
Correct.
I
Okay,
mean, that's not
so
disputable.
could you go over the items that you think should be changed? That you'd be okay with changing?
Oh, I'm indifferent about,
Because we can't make a motion if it's loosey-goosey. It's gotta be like,
no, I mean,
like, for example, landscaping, if you go. no,
yeah, so I can tell you that number 3, number 4, number 6. I don't know if we need to clarify number 7. There was a little bit of confusion on that one, maybe, Nathan. But those other ones, like, I can take or leave, you know, that's not what I'm basing my decision on.
And
Solely the easement.
I'm with you too on that. And Brian, you have some leeway as the process unfolds and this, you know, we look at the snow removal and the trees don't go here, so they need to go over here and all that. So there's leeway in those, some of those, what we would call aesthetic or minor. Yeah.
Brian's plans would be subject to approval by,
Yeah.
Mhm.
and we'll also have the existing trees count in and shrubs count in the landscape counts.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm trying to push you, so either you want to make a decision tonight, you have to have specific language. Or you're going to give direction to punt, as I call it, and ask city staff to go back to planning and zoning with some different stuff. So that's why I'm asking these questions. We can't have it both ways. So,
Mr. Mayor, we still have to prepare findings and a decision, so you specificity is better than not, but we still have to prepare findings and conclusions.
Yes, but I'm assuming that, and you can't do those findings if we can't tell you which of these three that we've changed.
That's correct.
So I'm trying to get us to, on the same page of what changes you want to make.
I don't feel necessary to make any changes to those issues that we discussed because we got leeway. And we,
Okay,
yeah,
so would you like to make a motion?
I'm still on this one, like to have a little more clarification on this. The position the McCall Donley School District is in, it may be possible that there is a feasible solution. And I'm kind of with Colby, access is really important. And future planning, the staff's done the right thing for, we don't know how much growth we're going to have and where. We need access, but not without extensive analysis. And so how do we have some assurances that the school has some benefit from, they're the ones who've paid the price in my mind. And, yeah, they don't have to plow the road after the city builds it or however it gets built. So they have some, but it concerns me a little bit that extensive analysis and the impacts of the on-campus mitigation. And I know what might those look like that we would, I don't know if we can require them, or I'm just uncomfortable that the school who gives up, and they have a potential to gain here from this analysis. The developer who has been willing to do some things, might that become a requirement, the way this language is done?
Well, that's not part of what's before us tonight. In my opinion, we're a little out of line if we're trying to, yeah.
And it's always hard for us when something's come through the process and then we're given information at the last minute that we're trying to juggle with, and we're not sitting there having it's not like, it'd be nice if the parties, everybody together all had a plan and it was approved, and then we're sitting here looking at it and like, okay, this looks great, move on. And so the applicant's telling us they'd like to get this approved and move forward. So we hear that. So do we approve it as is, or do we go back into the process? I mean, that's what you're asking, right, Bob?
Yes, that's what I'm asking. And
But I don't,
if you remember, when we worked with the same hierarchy applicant on a housing project on a different location across from the high school, all these things were worked out. It worked fine.
yeah,
So it's not like it's impossible. I think our communication can be very good. But I'm feeling that the school district wants to get going on their project. And so perhaps we should make a decision tonight. If you feel differently, then we can table it.
Yeah, no, I'm not in favor of tabling it, but I'm also not sure that we make the decision that the parties have the incentives to work together. And I guess that's something the city has to ensure and provide, that the school in 5 years from now will say granting that 70-foot easement right away was in our best interest.
Well,
I
we've
mean-
always worked with the parties. In
No,
my opinion, since you've been on council, since I've been on council, there's
It's-
always been an open door policy for
It's
communication.
entirely possible that that easement would sit there untouched.
Yeah.
In the city.
but the school has to assume that it will, I think the school had said to us that, it being there would kind of change their internal plan.
Yeah, I mean, I think they have to assume that it will be developed.
Yeah, I mean,
Change in the
if,
contract, and we have a developer that's,
yeah, if the assumption that it is developed, should that change through there, that the cost of that would be part of the development and probably from the city as well, and independent of the school. So it's, there's, I mean, just looking at a map through there and a 70-foot, there's nothing much is going to change on that. And through the miracle of modern technology, you could probably even make it better. should that road get developed.
Yeah, there's definitely benefits.
Yeah, I mean,
Anybody who's ever tried to take their kid to school with a bike,
Yeah, but you'll have traffic coming from the new development, which will, have an impact on people leaving school.
except that the people would be on a separated bike path. So I don't,
I mean, the cars leaving the school.
right. But again, if you have the road with the separated bike paths, then that's no different than what we have on other places with separated bike paths.
I'm just saying that you're gonna
Right.
have driveways from the school trying to turn out onto the
Sure.
Stettin Deinhardt lane, and you have traffic coming from this development, also trying presumably, some of those people will still drop their kids off of school, even though they're close by, because maybe they're at work anyway, or the weather's bad. I mean, I think it could have quite an impact on their vernal flow. Current plan, I mean, they would obviously change it because people have to have a different way of entering and exiting, I think, but.
Nathan, you have some contracts that need to be awarded tonight, right? I'm gonna have-
Oh, yeah.
Is that correct?
I do not,
Or
but
is
the
it
Parks
Kurt?
Department does, so.
All right.
The audit report.
And then we have an audit report. So, okay,
boy,
council, you want to do something tonight or not? If so, someone needs to make a motion. This is why you get paid so much. For your civic duty.
Forgot about that.
It's the hard decisions like tonight.
I move we approve conditional use permit application CUP 21-03 for the McCall Donley School District as recommended by the McCall Area Planning and Zoning Commission and authorize the mayor to sign all necessary documents.
Is there a second?
Second,
Motion has been made and seconded to approve the conditional use permit application CUP 21-03 for the McCall Donley School District as recommended by the McCall Area Planning and Zoning Commission and authorize the mayor to sign all necessary documents. May I have a roll call vote on this motion?
Councilmember Nielsen,
Yes.
Councilmember Machesik,
yes.
Mayor Giles,
Yes.
Councilmember Nelson,
Yes.
Councilmember Thrower.
No,
Okay, this motion carries. We look forward to seeing the findings of fact. All right, we're going to move on to the next item.
Mayor, my understanding is that the auditor is also presenting online tonight for the financial statements, which is your next item. So Linda will get it introduced for you.
Okay,
Nice if the applicant just wanted to.
what's that?
That was, it's always hard when we get the back and forth.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Good.
Yeah.
Just really kind of odd voting to approve something and having them be in favor of.
That's what I was trying to say. Linda,
Hi.
Thanks for staying up late.
let's get to the interesting stuff. Financials now. Audits.
It
you're gonna
is,
keep us awake.
it's really interesting. Okay, so Mayor Council, Linda Stokes, City Treasurer. I'm here to introduce Josh Tyree with Harris CPAs for his presentation of our fiscal 22 audit. Included in your packet was a draft financial statement, which did not include the MD&A, but I just completed the MD&A. We'll be getting that to Harris for them to review and format into the statements when we, to send us the final copy, once you approve it and accept it. And also a copy of his presentation and a management letter from Harris to you all as the council. Are you on, Josh?
I am. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay. I'm sitting in my car and it was light out, but now it's dark.
Do you
So I
want this?
apologize.
I'm sorry,
Uh,
Josh. Are you doing your presentation slides, or would you like the city clerk to pull those up? If
No,
that's possible.
I will share
You'll
my
do it?
screen. Yeah.
Okay, okay, fine.
Wow,
Okay.
I'm impressed you can do that from your car.
I know, that's why,
Oh.
me too.
Hey,
Okay.
welcome, Josh. I will tell you, we got, all of us got an advance copy of your, what I call like the executive summary,
Okay.
and that was really helpful.
Oops, sorry.
And we could tell you're a very thorough company, and we look forward to your presentation tonight. Thank you.
Excellent. Thank you for letting me present. And I will, I know it's been a long night, so I will go over here pretty quick. But if you guys have questions, feel free to stop me, but I'll at least give you the highlights of the audit. Really quick on the overview. So this is our second year doing the audit, and we're significantly farther ahead in time than we were last year, which is a very positive thing, making improvements each year. So our audit objective is to make sure your statements are in accordance with government accounting standards, and we issue basically 3 separate reports in your audit. The first is our audit report, which is done by government auditing standards and the basic financials, and that is a clean opinion. The second 2 reports are under the single audit requirement and government auditing standards. One is an internal control report, and the other one is a single audit compliance report. Our single audit this year was over the AIP grants, or the airport. And so all 3 reports, which is what the entire kind of objective is for us to be able to issue those reports, are all what I call a clean opinion. So technically they're called unqualified opinions. If we had found something, we'd have to qualify it. But I just call them clean opinions. They're as a council and mayor is exactly what you guys want to see at the end. So all good things to report.
Yes,
our
we like those words. We understand what a clean opinion means. Thank you for
Perfect.
explaining that.
Okay. So our audit is always kind of broken out into these 3 different areas, and how we go through it: planning, field work, and reporting. When we go through it, we can't test 100% of everything. So we have to identify what we think is more significant based on both dollar amounts, but also kind of number of transactions. There's a bunch of different things that go into this, and then we try and focus our time in these specific areas. So you can see where this year, we had an adoption of a new accounting standard, the lease standard, which we worked through. And then at the bottom here, you can see the fraud considerations. So we don't do a forensic audit, but we do look for fraud. We do unpredictable testing. We change up our testing, and there was nothing to report. So no fraud or anything through our procedures to report. So all good things. And everything that we tested here, all checked out through our testing. Your basic financials, the statement of financial position, or the government-wide, these are just some kind of a recap of it. If you've looked through here, you'll see that. I like to kind of focus here on the statement of activities, especially that last paragraph on this page, which is the fund statements. The top 2 talk about your government-wide. The fund statements are what you're budgeting based off of, and this year you had 17.5 million, in revenue, 16.5 million expenses. So a plus 1.7 million in fund balance, which is great to see. Government, when you look at it kind of this way, sometimes the statements are hard, but you can kind of just see the percentages and the size of where your revenues or your sources of income are coming. We spend quite a bit of time in the property and sales tax revenue sharing arena, doing a lot of testing on that. Grant revenue as well, really through the single audit. And the other items, franchise fees, charges for services, the smaller amounts we still look at. We just know we might do analytics or different things, not quite to the same extent that we are testing some of the other ones. But we do mix it up each year. Government expenditures, you can kind of see the different areas that you're spending the money or budgeting and expending the funds during the year. Some of the items on capital assets, they continue to kind of increase. We saw our notes payable come down this year as we kind of made more payments. Part of the lease standard is we got rid of actually the terminology capital leases, which I think I had in the one that you guys are probably looking at, but they're all included now as just notes payable. And then we had capital outlay, which is our expenditures, our major capital expenditures, and you can see your principal and interest on long-term debt continuing to decline, which is good. This one is a government-wide working capital. I've always included this because I've had cities as they go out for new financing or debt, some banks and bonds will look at this. These are all very, what I would consider strong numbers, but you're in a very good position as a city. So other required communications we have, we talked about kind of significant items. All of your accounting policies are very standard from a governmental standpoint, so you're not taking any crazy accounting policies in your statements. We had no disagreements with management. All the journal entries have been approved and posted. I did just make one change too. I think we had last year, we had a significant deficiency last year, but it's been corrected. So no material weaknesses or findings in the current year. So that's all great to report. I think last year there was just one report that wasn't filed from a compliance standpoint, but that's already been fixed. So nothing this year. And no other internal control or anything else that we thought would require to be communicated. So all good news to report. So with that, does anyone have any questions for me or want any more detail?
Council? Linda, should we be asking a lot of questions or does it sound like we got? What do you think?
Sounds like you're doing good work.
Fine tooth comb, but yeah.
I
You have
mean-
questions, definitely ask.
So it seems like this is one of our best ever audits.
It's a good one. It's done way before last year, so that's making me very happy, so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've been on council almost 12 years and 10 years. Anyway, seems like this is one of our best audits.
I would
You-
say that, Linda does a great job and it's our second year. It takes, when you switch auditors, it takes a few years for us to really get caught up to speed and get to know everything. I mean, we do our audits every year, but every year it gets smoother and a little bit better as we understand the process, your city's process and how things work. I mean, there's a lot of commonality, but then there's always differences between each city. And clean audits, I've done a lot of different cities. I've had some meetings that weren't clean and we had tons of findings, and it really, it all comes back down to Linda and her process and keeping the books and keeping everything in order. And so a lot of the credit for how well pretty much all the credit for how well the audit goes to Linda and everyone else at the city, because that's really what makes or breaks a good audit. So.
Well, thanks for sharing that with us because we think very highly of Linda. She's really great answering our questions on our monthly meetings when we ask her stuff. So thank you for passing that along. And thanks for doing a good job. Look forward to working with you in the future. Unless council has any other questions, we'll move on to our next topic.
You have to accept.
There's an action for you.
I'll
I
make
think there is a motion.
make the motion to accept the fiscal year 22 audit report and direct the treasurer to file the audit with the Legislative Services Office.
Second.
Thank you both. Motion's been made to accept the fiscal year 22 audit report and direct the treasurer to file the audit with the Legislative Services Office. We have a roll call vote on this motion.
Councilmember Manchesik?
Yes.
Councilmember Nielsen?
Yes.
Mayor Giles?
Thanks for reminding me. Yes.
Councilmember Nelson?
Yes.
Councilmember Thrower?
That was a yes. Sorry.
Do we have all yeses?
Yeah.
Okay, so that motion carries. And Linda, thanks a lot.
Thanks for staying up late, Josh.
Josh, thanks for, hanging in there in your car in the dark.
All right, thank
I
you.
was impressed that you're able to, out of the command vehicle, send us your PowerPoint. That was awesome.
Thank you.
Yeah,
All
me
right,
too.
thanks. Good night.
Tax people.
Okay, what do we got
Like
next?
working
I think we're gonna talk about boat ramp and actually get some contracts awarded.
Okay, this one should be fairly quick. Happy to answer any questions. Kurt Wolf, Parks and Recreation Director. Good evening. And I've got two agenda bills in front of you, two separate contracts, although for the same contractor. After talking with legal, the reason behind that is we went through the formal bidding process on this project for both of these projects. We only received one bidder. It was a responsive bid. And for a combination of reasons to expedite the process, keep things ahead of schedule. And before the lake comes up, we'll do these as two separate contracts. So one's for the construction of new docks at the boat ramp, and we'll repurpose the old docks to the south, replacing the worn out T dock, the old pump out dock. And the other is to build a new pier adjacent to the volleyball court retaining wall. And the overall goal with both of these projects is just to increase the number of short-term moorage slips at the boat ramp to alleviate congestion and buy people some time if they aren't able to park their boat trailer close by.
Yeah, I think that's great. But your write-up was really helpful. It's really clear to me.
So,
Any questions
yeah,
from Kurt on these proposals?
so the first contract for the dock expansion is the larger of the two. Combined, they're both under our total project budget amount. We received 173, almost 174,000 from the Waterways Improvement Fund via Idaho Department of Parks and Recreation. County Waterways put up $30,000 as match to that grant, and I've carried 50,000 in our CIP for this project.
Okay, you okay if we proceed to get these awarded?
You bet.
Okay, Council, you ready? We're gonna do them separately because they have separate contracts. So the first one is, the cost impact is the $168,000 one. And you see the recommended action, the language down below. So I would look for a motion.
I'll move to award a construction contract to Brock Gould Construction for the public boat ramp dock expansion project in the amount of $168,666, pending issuance of applicable 404 joint application for encroachment permits. Approve staff to manage change order amounts up to 10% of the contract amount and authorize the mayor to sign all necessary documents.
Second.
Motion has been made and seconded to award a construction contract to Brock Gould Construction for the public boat ramp dock expansion project in the amount of $168,666, pending issuance of an applicable 404 joint application for encroachment permits. Approve staff to manage change order amounts up to 10% of the contract amount and authorize the mayor to sign all necessary documents. May I have a roll call vote on this motion, please?
Councilmember Thrower,
Yes.
Councilmember Machese,
Yes.
Mayor Giles,
Yes,
Councilmember Nelson,
Yes.
Councilmember Nielsen.
Yes.
that motion carries. So proceed with contract award. And now we'll go to the second part, pier construction.
So same background information, and I'll apologize for the long motion. But again, I didn't catch that on the last one. The change order amount in there is just in an effort to keep the project on schedule and ahead of the lake coming up. If we do run into, it's nice. We have it in the budget if we have some change orders to avoid having to come back to council and delay the project. So that was the goal there. So.
Okay, let's get a motion on the table.
Move to award a construction contract to Brock Gould Construction for the new pier construction project in the amount of $76,947, pending issuance of applicable 404 joint application for encroachment permits. Approve staff to manage change order amounts up to 10% of the contract amount and authorize the mayor to sign all necessary documents.
Second.
Thank you both. A motion has been made and seconded to award a construction contract to Brock Gould Construction for the new pier construction project in the amount of $76,947 pending issuance of applicable 404 joint application for encroachment permits. Approve staff to manage change order amounts up to 10% of the contract amount and authorize the mayor to sign all necessary documents. May I have a roll call vote on this motion?
Councilmember, oops, wrong one, sorry. Councilmember Thrower,
Yes.
Councilmember Machese.
Yes.
Mayor Giles,
Yes.
Councilmember Nelson,
Yes.
Councilmember
Oh,
Nielsen.
yes.
Thank you, council. Thanks, Kurt, for sticking around late and great work as always. Look forward to seeing those improvements. Okay, moving on to Local Option Tax Commission, which is a very important committee. And we have an applicant that filled out a nice letter to all of us. And the name of the person that's proposed to be appointed is Kelly Hill. Take it away, Bessie Jill.
Yes, we have a vacancy that was created when Teresa Grace left the commission because she moved out of town. And so it was for a member at large, and we advertised for 5 weeks, I think, total. We had a hard time getting any applicants, and then Kelly asked me some questions about being on the commission, and put in her letter. So she wasn't able to do any voting at our first local option tax meeting, which we had just a couple weeks ago. She was present, so she could see what the process was. But this will get her on board in time to hear the applicants present their projects. So her term would terminate in 2026.
Any questions for Bessie Jill? And hopefully she's not staying up late.
No, she's not on tonight.
All right.
I assume Kelly is an advocate of the lot tax value to the city in general, that.
Yeah, and she works for Done Right, and so she brings a different kind of perspective also, and she's excited to learn more about our process and something that she can share with her clients as they rent short-term rentals where that additional tax is.
Yeah, she says she's a big supporter, her second paragraph there. Anyway.
Yeah.
Yep. So how about a motion to approve?
I'll make a motion to appoint Kelly Hill as citizen at large representative to the Local Option Tax Commission to a term to expire February 2026.
Second.
Thank you. Motion has been made and seconded to appoint Kelly Hill as the citizen at large representative to the Local Option Tax Commission to a term to expire February 2026. May I have a roll call vote on this motion?
Councilmember Machese,
Yes.
Councilmember Nielsen,
Yes.
Mayor Giles,
Yes.
Councilmember Nelson,
Yes.
Councilmember Thrower.
Yes.
Okay, that motion carries. It's real. Would you please congratulate her tomorrow? And
Yeah.
tell her
Sure will.
council's excited to have someone that really cares about this stuff.
Yep.
Okay, I think we are on to meeting schedule. Does that sound right?
Last item. Yay. You made it. So I'll keep it brief. We'll be back here tomorrow morning at 9. You're getting an update from our consultants on where they're at with the Parks Recreation Open Space Plan and the community engagement so far. Reminder again, April 12th, 5:30, volunteer appreciation at Banyan's. Your next regular meeting on the 13th, the mayor and I will not be here, so hopefully Colby will be here to run the meeting. And the big discussion topic that night will be Fish and Game coming to talk to you about the mountain lions, town deer, and all of that. Hopefully they'll have the ability to bring in a gentleman who works at the level above our office, who has done a lot of work with Blaine County on very similar issues and can bring strategies and knowledge to our area and things that work. So that we're trying to get that lined up for you. And then Bussy Joe, the high school speech presentations, they need to do something tonight about that.
No, I just wanted to let them know that, and I had sent them all an email, but they're, the last time we met, the dates have changed. So it's April 25th and 26th. Unfortunately, the Legion Hall is not available those days. So if you would like to participate and listen to those speeches, they'll be done at the high school. And so Melissa Coriel really hopes that as many of you that can attend will attend. And I actually went to the speech class yesterday and today, and gave the civics training for them, and then went over the city's priorities that the council set for this year. So those are their topics that they'll be choosing for their speeches that they will bring to you. So it'll be very pertinent to what is happening in our city.
And that's a Tuesday and a Wednesday.
And that's on the
Yep.
document. And then the last thing I'll mention, that's a special event outside of your normal meeting schedule, May 8th. Our ADA consultant, Dawn, is going to be back in town for all-day ADA training with staff. And of course, you're invited to participate.
And that will be here in this building, and we'll send out more information as we have it.
So if you, unless you have questions for me about anything you read on here or thoughts,
What day of the week is that? Because
Monday.
it's a,
Don told me that's a requirement for me to be there. I'll make sure I cancel my
it's a Monday.
commitment and I will be there. Looking forward to it. Cool.
Okay, thank you.
Everybody want to adjourn, or you haven't?
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Aye.
Aye.
You guys are good. Boy, when we get you motivated. Way to go tonight. All right. Could we